geeks! There's been a lot of crazy and some funny stories from around the world this week you do not want to miss. So stick with me for all the insanity. Before we start, please do me a favor, just because you like me, and subscribe to this channel and like this video. Geeks, the military in Myanmar watched what happened here on January 6th and were like, okay bitches, we'll show you how it's done. Myanmar is a country in Southeast Asia, also known as Burma, and earlier this week, Myanmar's military announced it had taken over the country. Soldiers went around and arrested and detained a bunch of government officials, including Myanmar's leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, whom they've now charged with illegally importing walkie-talkies. Girl, I got the goods. 10-4. Over now. Geeks, you can't make this shit up. It's like free content. This coup is a big deal. Not that this aerobics instructor would have noticed, since she kept shimmying while the military convoys literally overthrew the government. Catchy! The reason we care about Myanmar is because the US had worked to help the country transition to a quasi-democracy. Before that, Myanmar was brutally ruled for over 50 years by the military junta, which did everything it could to quash dissent. In fact, Aung San Suu Kyi had been held under house arrest for 15 years during the military dictatorship. But in 2016, the military kind of made a power-sharing deal with her. And last November, her party won elections in a landslide, which likely pissed off the military because they staged this coup hours before the new parliament was supposed to meet. The commander-in-chief of the military has never liked Aung San Suu Kyi or sharing power with her, so the November elections may have just been his motivation to take back control. Countries around the world have condemned this coup, and Biden said he would impose sanctions against the military. No one, especially not Myanmar citizens, want to return to how things were under military rule, and many are now protesting. These guys are bad news and likely to behave like human rights abusing thugs. They're the ones who massacred the Rohingya, who are an ethnic and mostly Muslim minority in Myanmar. The thing I don't get is that this move made no sense. The military already enjoyed a lot of power in Myanmar, and it's a different country now, so their takeover isn't going to be as easy as they expect. Citizens there are very active now on social media, and so they'll organize and voice themselves. And their move will only further increase the public's support for the opposing party. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi hasn't exactly been the leader we all hoped for, given that she defended the massacre against the Rohingya. Let's just say girlfriend's not exactly your ride or die. But having the military fully take over will be even worse. They'll quash political freedom, abuse their people, and likely target the Rohingya again. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of power to change things inside Myanmar, but we can band together with other countries to punish the military with sanctions and to redirect our aid to civil society and to threatened minorities. And hopefully with time, this will help bring democracy back. For now, though, things don't look good for Myanmar. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the shittiest of them all? According to the New York Times' Tom Friedman, Putin is now America's ex-boyfriend from hell. He's not really my type, but okay. Putin's actually got a new handle dubbed by the key opposition leader he tried to kill and whom Putin has now detained since he failed at killing the guy. Vladimir, the poisoner of underpants. If you all remember, Russian oppositionist Alexei Navalny was jailed a few weeks ago when he returned to Russia after he had been in Germany for 5 months recovering from a poison attack. The Russian government had tried to assassinate Navalny by putting a poison called Novichok in his underwear. Yep. I tell ya, cable networks think world news is boring, and yet every story is out of a movie. Well, this week, the Russian government sentenced Navalny to 2.5 years in jail for the ridiculous crime of violating parole by failing to report to authorities in person, like when he was in a coma and in Germany recovering from the government's attempt to kill him. At the end of the day, we all know that the reason Putin jailed him is because he feels threatened by Navalny's voice, how he challenges Putin's regime, and how he embarrasses him and his friends with corruption allegations. And Putin probably hates that Navalny survived his assassination attempt, so this move is likely meant to scare Russians away from protesting. But Navalny has inspired some of the country's biggest protests, and since he was detained, tens of thousands of people have turned out, and over 5,000 people have been arrested. To which Navalny tells Putin, what are you going to do, lock up the whole country? Putin is deploying an old playbook that dictators around the world use, that if you crush your people enough, they'll be too afraid to speak up. But that doesn't work anymore. It only ends up further angering people and causing civil strife, and then no one wins. The fact of the matter is there's a large contingent of Russians who don't like Putin, and eventually that will catch up with him. The question now is how the US approaches Russia and whether we have any sway to change this. They're not exactly known for caving to public pressure, but there are things that piss the Russians off. For example, they want to maintain good relations with Europe, and they want to see their gas pipeline to Europe called the Nord Stream 2 finalized. That could be a good point of leverage for the Europeans to use to twist Putin's arm. Hint, hint. President Biden called Putin 2 weeks ago, and he did not hold back on what he would and would not tolerate. He and Putin agreed to renew the START nuclear arms reduction treaty, but he also schooled Putin on the list of bad behavior he didn't like. In my opinion, the US needs to work with Europe to impose sanctions immediately, specifically for Alexei Navalny's arrest, and Navalny's name needs to be mentioned in every high-level conversation with the Russian government. In the meantime, Navalny remains a spirited person. This week, Canada listed 13 groups as terrorist entities. 4 of them are far-right-wing and violent white supremacist groups, and they now share the spotlight on this list next to groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. What's notable is that some of the far-right groups are American or have a presence here, like the Proud Boys and neo-Nazi groups like Atomwaffen Division and the Base. This move comes after the January 6th insurrection here, where several members of Proud Boys played key roles, and at least 2 of them now face federal conspiracy charges. Canada said their goal is to crack down on ideologically motivated extremism, which they said poses the most significant threat to domestic security. And their step is a game changer in the fight to combat this threat. But can I just say it's also a little embarrassing for us since some of these groups are American and we haven't done much to target them. By declaring them as terrorist entities, Canada has made it illegal for its people to knowingly participate with or contribute to these groups. That's huge, because they're sending this loud and clear message to these extremists that their violence won't be tolerated and that anyone associated with them could face serious consequences. But here, they're still free to do what they want. And what's crazy is that experts and government officials have been sounding the alarm on these groups for years. Now you see why I said it's embarrassing. Like, we know we have this problem, but we don't do anything about it. There are a few things we can do to tackle this threat. The first is to get the right resources in place in government, like people who collect and analyze intel, lawyers who prepare investigations and cases, and policymakers who figure out how the hell to fix this problem. The second is to get the right legislation that allows the US government to even declare these domestic groups as terrorist organizations if they meet the definition. The third is to start seriously sanctioning the global violent white supremacy groups, since they're all connected and they all influence each other. Trump actually sanctioned one of these groups called the Russian Imperial Movement last year, which was a great move, but it should have been followed up with a broader global sanctions campaign in order to have any effect. I actually co-authored a piece last year with my good friend Danny Glazer on this. Bottom line, the United States prides itself on being a leader in counterterrorism and national security, but right now we look like we're playing catch-up. Biden's team said they're reviewing the situation, so we'll have to see what happens. Some really sad and angering news broke yesterday that I want to talk about. Lebanese activist and political writer and commentator Lokman Saleem was murdered this week. He was found in his car with 2 bullet holes through his head. I knew Lokman because he used to come meet with me when I was director for Lebanon and Syria at the White House. He was wonderfully idealistic, optimistic against all odds, and tirelessly worked to change things for the better in Lebanon. He had these great ideas for how to support civil society, how the US and other governments could help, and why his ideas could help undermine Hezbollah's influence, empower Lebanese people, and improve the country's economy. He was also Shia and an outspoken critic of the Shia terrorist organization Hezbollah, which is likely what got him killed. While it hasn't been proven yet, it's pretty damn obvious Hezbollah was behind this assassination, especially since the son of Hezbollah's leader tweeted, and this is a rough translation, that losing some people is actually a win and an unexpected boon. #no regrets. His tweet has since been deleted, but the internet doesn't forget. Lokman Saleem warned that Hezbollah might kill him. What's crazy is that he should have been the least of Hezbollah's worries, and the fact that they were so threatened by him shows how insecure they are. Unfortunately, though, they'll likely succeed in making other Lebanese intellectuals and commentators afraid to speak up. Since I know the Lebanese government isn't going to do anything about this, I'm putting Hezbollah and its leader and his son on my list this week. In response to Alexei Navalny's sentencing, the Russian feminist protest group and punk band Pussy Riot released a song calling for his release and the release of all political prisoners, including one of their members. Pussy Riot is made up of a group of fearless, badass women who write and perform songs and who perform stunts to protest Putin and his government. You may have seen them before in their trademark colorful balaclavas. They've had a number of public performances or protests. Some are planned like concerts, and some are surprise stunts meant to fight for certain causes. In 2018, for example, they had 4 people storm the field during the World Cup finals match in Russia. In fact, French soccer player Kylian Mbappe high-fived one of the women. Another one of their most famous stunts was when they went into one of Moscow's cathedrals. They jumped around, and while they pretended to pray, they urged the Virgin Mary to help get rid of Putin. They've also performed in traditional concerts, even performing with Madonna. And they call their work a mix of activist art and live set, and most of their songs are freely available to download under the collective name Kill the Sexist. In response to Navalny's sentence, they've released a song called Rage, and they are asking fans to campaign with them to demand the release of political prisoners in Russia. So they're asking us to download and share a 10-second clip of their song. I think the message is loud and clear. And you can also share this photo with the hashtags Free Navalny, Free Pussy Riot, and Free Political Prisoners. I'll link to all of this on my website. These badass bitches are crushing it, and I hope they succeed in helping free political prisoners in Russia. Geeks, I have so much fun doing this, and I hope you're having as much fun as me. Please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment or question, or give me an idea if you have one, and please follow Oh My World and me on Instagram and Twitter. Stay fabulous, geeks.